Hello, Jamie from Inky&Scrappy, sharing with you today my Craft Roulette Challenge number 200 card, Lacy's Wisdom. I brought in some ink road stamps today, The Gang, and then The Gang Some Sayings, I guess. I don't remember what that one is. I will look it up. I will list it down below if you are interested. Of course, I'm sure this one is sold out on ink road stamps, but if you're new to ink road, put it in your wish list, and if there's enough demand for it, she will bring it back. Plus, if it's in your wish list, if it comes back in stock, it will send you an email. Added bonus. So I did bring in the Doodle Bug Designs Winter Wonderland paper pack and the stitched inside out stitched heart stack and the Lacy heart stack from Fawn. I'm making a Valentine for my nephew. He loves chocolate, so I felt that I really picked the sentiment first, and I hadn't decided between Charlie and Lucy on this one, but since it was Lucy who said it, I decided to go with Lucy. So I'm just adding my pattern paper that's cut into a heart on top of my other heart here, and then I did use a scrap of white metallic cardstock to kind of give her some footing or a base there. So I don't know, maybe it's the snow. Here, usually for Valentine's Day, we have snow. Not that we do this year. We have frost on the ground. That's as white as it is right now. Anyways, so I did do some very simple coloring on these. They're comic strip characters, and usually if you look at comics, they're very flat in color. They don't have a whole lot of depth and dimension for coloring. And so I tried to keep that in mind while I was doing this. I wanted this to be a faster card or a quick and simple card, and so that's kind of what I did. I did end up pulling my old Ohuhu markers out and not my newer ones, so I do have the old colors listed on the side of the screen there. I don't think I have those on. I just kind of pulled. I know those ones the best, and so it was easy and fast for me to just kind of pull and color. I knew where I was going with it. So the newer Ohuhu ones, I don't have all the color names and numbers memorized like I do the older ones. So I did fussy cut it out. I wish it was as fast as it is on speed through camera. Yeah. So I did bring in the all you really need is love, because it's a Valentine's card. But a little chocolate now and then doesn't hurt. So oh, that one's the gang. So the other one must be the gang icons, the one with the little characters, or with the characters in it. Anyways, back to the card. I used some Fawn colored vellum. This one's got like a pearlescent finish to it. I did use VersaFine Onyx Black after I did do a powder tool on it to kind of hopefully not have black embossing powder everywhere. I usually don't use black embossing powder. I usually do clear over the top of that VersaFine Onyx Black, but on vellum it just doesn't, I don't know, I think it washes out that black color when I do clear, and so I did bring in my black embossing powder. As you can see, I spilled it everywhere. That's why I avoid using it. And the vacuum gods will get it later today, I promise. So my sentiment was just a little bit smaller than the speech bubble, and I didn't have any other speech bubble die. I probably have a speech bubble stamp somewhere. I didn't go look for it. So I kind of used it as a guide and cut out per se. Now, I didn't even use it, so that's kind of why I cut a lot of that footage out, because, yeah. Sometimes what I want and what I end up with are not the same thing. So I did bring in the Perfectly Plaid 6x6 paper pack from Fawn because it matched Lucy's dress fairly well, or that blue did. And so I also brought in a darker pink color that goes, you can't really see it in the actual footage here, but in real life it matches that dark pink that is in that pattern paper that Lucy is standing on. And so it's definitely a darker pink, but I liked it. It was kind of a bold wow, and that was what I was going for. So I will layer these on my card base here. And then once I have that down, I will add in my heart. Now, I haven't decided at this point if I wanted it this way or if I wanted it the other way. Now, I was not in love with the placement, how it was looking. I maybe should have just done a strip underneath the bottom with it instead of doing it in this beach bubble form. I end up deciding to go this route, but I felt it was covering up way too much of my heart, and it kind of took away the heart that, you know, was for the Valentine portion of it. So I went back to my 7-year-old self and cutting out comic strip, you know, stuff. And so this was felt very much like a newspaper, like cutting the newspaper comic apart and doing my sentiment that way. I kind of love it. Who else had, my grandma used to wrap all of our birthday stuff and sometimes Christmas in Sunday comics. Yes, the Sunday comics in the paper. That's what was wrapping paper. That's what I remember from growing up. That's the only time we really got comics because we didn't get the Sunday paper ourselves. So if we would have birthdays, we would sit there and read the wrapping paper before we unwrapped the wrapping paper. Does that make sense? To read all the comics. My favorite was Peanuts, Family Circus, and Dennis the Menace. My brother's was Calvin and Hobbes. I did not understand Calvin and Hobbes quite as well as he did until I was a little bit older. Then I liked Calvin and Hobbes. Anyways, back to the card. So I'm adding in my little strips here with some liquid glue. Now, by taking my finger and spreading that liquid glue out, it's going to give it a solid stick, so you don't have the little dots where the adhesive is, I guess, if that makes sense. It's also pearlescent colored vellum, so it does have a little bit more give, I think, or forgiveness on that one than normal. Now, for my last parameter here was buttons, add buttons, or add a button. I decided to go, I was hoping I had chocolate shaped buttons, which sometimes I might have them somewhere. I could not find them. So I ended up bringing in 3 mini chocolate colored buttons for my little chocolates to kind of accent the rest of the card here and finish it up. So for my Craft Roulette parameters today, I have a card for a child for my nephew who loves chocolate, a Brrrr color, so those blues, and then of course the pinks, because pink cheeks and noses is kind of what I think of when I think of Brrrr. And then of course I have a comic with Lacy from Peanuts and the 3 buttons on the bottom for my random. Have a good one. Keep getting inky. Bye.